Sorry about that. Got a little carried away there. Good morning. My name is Garnet Conaway. And welcome. My name is Garnet Conaway, and I serve this congregation on the board as the secretary, and I'm also in the choir. We had a rousing rehearsal this morning, so if you're interested, come join us if we have space. We were pretty full this morning. It was great. So whether you have been with us on Sundays for a long time, or if you're visiting for the first time today, we welcome you to our service. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with participation open to all of those who agree to live into our principles, our mission, and our values. We are a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities. And we unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self to our community of caring and commitment to grow as spiritual and moral beings. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and to our planet in these ways: by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is a custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If it's your first time here, would you mind raising your hand so that we can acknowledge you? Okay. Great. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now, you are invited to join us for coffee after the service, and new and newer folks are invited to grab a green mug, which you'll find just inside the fellowship hall. You can follow the crowd down the hallway if you don't know where the fellowship hall is. If you grab one of these mugs, we can easily spot you and to speak with you during the coffee hour. You are also welcome to fill in one of those little green cards that can be found in the pews in front of you so that we can keep in touch with you. Simply drop that card into the offering basket or at the box at the welcome table in the foyer. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your personal theology, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. Our service will now begin.
For our chalice lighting today, I would like to share with you part of our new covenant, which describes the commitments we in our congregation make to each other. We live our lives with kindness, understanding, respect, generosity, and patience for each other and the world around us.
Good morning, Goof. I'm the Reverend Chris Hockman. Before I share our call to worship this morning, I would like to let you know that we have a new and prospective member class beginning after service today at 12:30 in the Founders Room. If that is interest to you, you are more than welcome to join us. Just to give you a little warning that it is a 4-week commitment, so think about that before you show up. But anyone who is interested in coming is more than welcome. All right, our call to worship words this morning are from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know only that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here among us, here upon the earth, in your body, however tired or broken your heart may be. Whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry, for this hour you know you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. Already we are organizing. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit to sing the first hymn in the Teal hymnal, Morning Has Come.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GOOF. And I welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who would like to hear the story up close to come sit at the base of the steps or in the front pew.
The story this morning, ooh, I'm very loud. The story this morning is from this book called After Aesop, Stories for All Ages by Aaron McEmery's, illustrations by Lisa Hedeker. The story is called We Are Not Afraid. A long time ago, way before you were born, maybe about the time your parents were little kids, there was a special school called the Highlander Folk School. Highlander was in Tennessee in the South. The whole school was nothing more than a few buildings set up on a beautiful hill, surrounded by green forests and farm fields. The people at Highlander believed that all people are equal, that all people should be allowed to go to school, and that the most important thing people need to learn is how to work together and love one another. Back then, believe it or not, African Americans and white people were not allowed to go to the same schools. They weren't allowed to eat in the same cafeterias or even get married to one another if they fell in love. But Miles Horton, the man who started the school, believed that all of that was nonsense. He thought all kinds of people, of all kinds of colors, from all kinds of backgrounds, should be able to work, play, and go to school together. A lot of famous people were students at Highlander, including Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. So although it was against the law back then for African Americans and white people to attend the same school, there were always people of all colors at Highlander, learning and playing and working together. One of the things they liked to do most at Highlander was to make music together. At one time, a whole big choir of African American kids visited from Atlanta, and they stayed at Highlander. One night, all the kids were watching a movie in the main hall. The lights were out, so everybody could see the movie better. All of a sudden, several big cars roared up to school, and a lot of angry men got out and barged inside. Nobody knew who the men were, but it was obvious they meant trouble. They were mad that African American kids and white kids were going to the same school. As these men stormed into Highlander, somebody turned off the movie projector. The whole place went completely dark. The angry men quickly realized that they had made a big mistake. None of them had been inside the school, so none of them knew where the light switches were. And on top of that, they had forgotten to bring flashlights. So they roared and yelled at the kids to turn on the lights. None of the kids moved a muscle. Then, in the darkness, the kids began to sing. They sang a song called We Shall Overcome, a very famous song, often sung by people who believe that people of all colors can live together in harmony. Now, I want to sing this song for you, but I'm having two problems that I want to fix before I can do that. One, this mic is so loud that if I sing into it, it's not going to work. And two, have you ever had a problem where you have a song in your head and you know how to sing it, and then you hear another song and it somehow erases the melody of the song you were trying to remember? That last song totally obliterated any memory I had of this song. So I'm wondering, surely someone in the crowd knows this song. Thank you. I just needed that. So the song goes, we shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I there are more words about walking in hand, being free, and all being together, the whole wide world around. In that scariest of all situations, those kids made up their own words. And to those angry men, they sang these words: "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today." Deep in my heart, I still believe we are not afraid today. Now, this really startled those angry men. The kids were supposed to be the scared ones, but now the grown-ups were starting to feel a little nervous. After some more fumbling around, they just gave up, ran back to their cars, and drove away. Now, those kids learned something important that night. They learned how strong and brave they could be if they stuck together. And the words they made up that night have been a permanent part of that song ever since. Thank you for listening. Now, any K through 5 folks who are coming with me to classes, please walk quietly out through the middle and make sure that you have a name tag if you're in 3rd grade or below.
Our congregation is entirely self-governed by democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all the financial support for our many ministries among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as essential to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. Thank you.
It's on? It's on. Every time I feel the Spirit, that's the name of our anthem today.
On the mountain, when my Lord spoke, out of his mouth came fire and smoke. Looked all around me, it looked so fine, till I asked my Lord if all was mine. Jordan River is chilly and cold. It chills the body, but not the soul. There ain't but one train upon this track. It leads to heaven and right back.
Wow. It is our custom in this fellowship to share the joys and sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We recognize that life is not always easy, and that we all have moments of celebration and struggle. We believe that by sharing these experiences with one another, we can celebrate with, support, and uplift each other as we navigate the significant events of our lives. For day, we light a candle of joy. Despite it being the coldest time of the year, my partner and I have managed swapping out the furnishings of 5 rooms within our house. Whenever the pains of physical labor got to be too much, we would pull up the videos showing friendly faces at Greenville UU. You kept our hearts beating this winter, Goof. Yeah. Linda Molnar asked for a candle of hope. Please light a candle of hope for a good recovery for Vicky Mundis, who has been in Prisma Hospital in Greer for the past week. And from Andrea Romero, a candle of joy. I reconnected with my dad after not speaking to him for over a year. This fellowship has played a part in my personal growth and my decision to let go of the past and stand with love. Another joy, happy birthday, Linda Turner. Thank you for all you do to keep the thrift store thriving. Yeah. And a candle of concern for Doris Wilhite, who has COVID and respiratory issues in Camden. Please send her healing thoughts and energy. That's from Candy Kern. And finally, a candle of joy for Todd, Joni, and Lila. We moved out of the nostalgic apartment and are renting a house on the West End. A great new start for the year from Todd Couliard. Okay, and we will light one final candle representing all the joys and sorrows in our hearts that remain unspoken today. And we will now observe a brief moment of silence before the words for meditation.
Meditation words from Becky Brooks. Spirit of life, I have witnessed a loud love, an out loud love that challenges me. I did not recognize it at first, the rumble of an ocean I had long been under. But here it is right now, and it looks just like the whole world could be. It doesn't play nice. Why should it when nice has only ever played as a lullaby? This love demands. A love so loud it lays rocks at the feet of children who can't find their path home any other way. This love is indifferent to tolerance. It invites you into your own heart, where God, their self, has come to take tea with you. Drink and know that like that other love, this love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This out loud love makes no secret of its aim to get you free. But first, set fires. Throw the poison to the ground. Match the love sound for sound. Spirit of life, come and bring everyone. We're giving birth to something new. So by now, you may have noticed this diagram that's been hanging out up here for most of the service. And to many of you, I'm guessing that it is starting to look a little bit familiar at this point. But I'm going to explain it again anyway, because that's the most radically inclusive thing to do, and it never hurts to hear about this more than once. I'm going to share some new stuff as well, so don't worry. So this diagram is basically a proposed shift in how we articulate our UU faith. And the part I'm going to be talking about today, and we'll be talking about pretty much this whole month, because our theme is Liberating Love, we're going to be talking about the part that's in the center. Love. Love at the center. In a happy coincidence, about a year ago, when this congregation was voting and ranking its values, the number one value was love, right? Great minds thinking alike here. But I'm going to start with a little spiritual reflection on this diagram. Yes, a diagram can be spiritual. Who knew? This was written by a UU minister named Tess Baumberger, and I love what she has to say about this. She writes, "At the center of this image is love, that heart of universalism, that eternal and all-conquering force. Around it and from it flows values that express that love. This love that sits at the center of this image is not sentimental love or romantic love. It is the love we grow in our communities, a deep and abiding love that affirms our worth no matter what we do or don't achieve or believe. This love is a belief in ourselves and in one another that nothing can rip apart. This love affirms our interdependence. It is a love that says we all deserve to be loved, whether we have been hurt or have hurt others. For some of us, the love at the center of this image includes a divine love that holds us tenderly and tightly. It is a fierce, protective, and liberating love. It is a hopeful love, a love that inspires people of goodwill and sacrificial spirit to overcome evil and to make this earth as heavenly as possible. Just and equitable, pluralistic, affirming all people of all nations, all races, and all creeds. Ours is and always has been a heretical faith, a courageous faith, a covenantal faith, and a faith that calls us to work with that all-conquering, liberating love to make this earth a heaven." End quote. I love this particular articulation of love for us, and I love the richness of this concept of love being at the center of everything we do, and how this love can guide us to all the places we ourselves want to go and want to see the world go to, and how having love at the center can give us a fresh and unifying sense of purpose, and also as an easier and clearer way of describing what we are all about, because as many of us have found, when asked what Unitarian Universalism is all about, we either have to take about 45 minutes or our chins just kind of drop and we don't know what to say. Now, since the merger of the Unitarians and the Universalists in 1961 to form a new religion known as Unitarian Universalism, now we've typically relied on our 7 principles and a proposed 8th principle now to define who we are as a religion. Now, the petal diagram above, and there are words that accompany it as well, are really a rearticulation of these UU values in a different format, right? From a list of values, of things we affirm, to something that is round and colorful. Many of the words on the petals are key concepts from our principles, but love is a new addition. And not only is it appearing for the first time, it's appearing at the center of our values, at the core of our being, as the connective force that drives all our other values and our perspective, right, as a religious people. And you know, back in the day, love didn't come up a lot in UU settings. I don't know if you all agree with me, you know, folks who've been around a while. And it's not that we didn't believe in love or couldn't be loving. It's just, I think that to many UUs, love just sounded a little mushy-gushy and sentimental and kind of wimpy. I mean, we tended to gravitate towards the strong words like freedom and reason and self-reliance and independence. And, you know, those are the words I think we've traditionally cherished a lot. And when love did come up, it was usually in the context of our Universalist heritage. The Universalists were much more comfortable, I think, with the word love than the Unitarians were. But the Universalists talked, you know, they grew out of this idea of a loving God who would not condemn anyone to eternal suffering, which led them to the accompanying idea that if God loves everyone, perhaps we should try and be like that loving God and love each other, including our whole human family, just the way God does. And the Universalists took to heart the words in the Gospel of John. The words in the Gospel of John we do not hear enough about and do not see in the end zones of professional football games. The words I'm talking about in the Gospel of John is that God is love. Funny how that little bit of scripture is not getting as much PR as I think it deserves. God is love. As I think back, the word love really came on the scene with the founding of the organization Standing on the Side of Love, which was a UU public advocacy campaign that seeks to harness love's power to stop oppression. And this is the initiative that gave us those awesome yellow gold love shirts and got us known as the Love People. And this campaign is now known as, instead as Side with Love, having discarded the ableism that was present in the original name. Now, all you may remember, kind of when Side with Love started, marriage equality was like the big issue. We really rallied around a lot of, there was on immigration justice, other things. But they've been there the whole time, and they've grown and developed. And I don't know if you know or remember, Side with Love was conceived after a really tragic event for Unitarian Universalists. It was a very alarming event, I know for me. It was conceived after the 2008 shooting at Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Knoxville. The church had been targeted because of its welcoming to LGBTQ+ people and its general liberal stance on many issues. And to this tragedy, the whole community of Knoxville, no matter, creed, religion, whatever, the whole community responded to this tragedy with an outpouring of love. And this outpouring of love from that community was so inspiring that leadership at the Unitarian Universalist Association were inspired to start the campaign a year later, with the goal of harnessing love's power, even beyond Unitarian Universalists, to challenge exclusion, oppression, and violence based on sexual orientation, gender identity, immigration status, race, religion, or any other identity. So, over the last 15 years or so, we have gone from love on our shirts to love at the center. And now the diagram above and the text that goes with it has a confusing name. It's called the proposed Article 2. Okay, why do we call it that? Because Article 2 is the place in our Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws where we describe what our religion is, what it's all about. It's where our 7 principles are living. And if the proposed Article 2, this, passes at our next General Assembly in June, the new Article 2, the words and the petals, potentially as amended, will be in our Article 2 and will restate what are the current principles and sources in the new bylaws. All right. So our theme for January is Liberating Love. And I made it extra complicated by titling today's sermon, Liberating and Revolutionary Love. So I just realized I had an extra thing to unpack. This is what I do to myself sometimes. Now, the term liberating love comes from the text that goes with proposed Article 2. And it also made its way into our Goof mission statement, that part that was read in the introduction today about building community through liberating love. And this is what the proposed Article 2 text has to say about the love part. The UUA will actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. As UUs, we draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So now love is not only liberating and revolutionary, it's a spiritual discipline too. That's just another thing I've got to unpack now. In some ways, I find it easier to think of love as a superpower It's easier for me to grasp sometimes. But really, I think in history, it helps if we go back and think about love in connection with the nonviolence practiced in the civil rights movement. Dr. King said, "When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am speaking of that force which all the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality." So I think what's really remarkable about what he's saying here, being of a person from the Christian tradition, when he was talking about the ultimate thing, he didn't mention God. He mentioned love, right? I would say he was definitely of the God is love camp, right? And he was talking beyond just one religion. He was talking about love as being a force that all great religions have. And also unlocking the door to the ultimate reality. Love is the key that unlocks the door to ultimate reality. What does that mean? That's a very theological term, but ultimate reality in the Judeo-Christian tradition would often mean the ultimate reality is God. But by saying ultimate reality, he's saying it doesn't have to be that. Ultimate reality, potentially to use, could be heaven on earth. It could be, whatever is the most supreme, fundamental, and powerful thing, the highest aspiration, the highest state of being. So what happened with Dr. King's concept of love and its ability to transform and liberate? It was picked up by African-American feminist writer Bell Hooks. She took Dr. King's commentary on love and she just ran with it. She describing it as an ethic of love. I really love this ethic of love for Unitarian Universalists because ethic of love doesn't sound as mushy-gushy as plain old love. It's like, oh, ethic, I understand that. It's an ethic of love. It just has this gravitas. I think that really works well for us. But there's more than that, and more reasons I'm taken with this idea of love as an ethic. Bell Hooks said, "The civil rights movement transformed society in the U.S. because it was fundamentally rooted in a love ethic. No leader has emphasized this ethic more than Martin Luther King Jr. He had the prophetic insight to recognize that a revolution built on any other foundation would fail. Again and again, King testified that he had decided to love because he believed deeply that if we are seeking the highest good, the ultimate reality, we find it through love, the key that opens the door to ultimate reality." This love as the key that unlocks the door to the greatest depth of meaning. So again, she's saying that it's love that helps us find the highest good and the highest level of meaning in our existence. And she said the civil rights movement had the power to move masses of people to act in the interest of racial justice because it was profoundly rooted in this love ethic. So what is this so if she's talking about this love ethic that we're not completely practicing all the time today, what are we practicing? Well, she's a critic of capitalism, and she says that really what we're practicing is an ethic of dominance in our society. So she talks about how, in this society, there is really no powerful discourse on love. The absence of a sustained focus on love arises from a collective failure to acknowledge the needs of the spirit and an overdetermined emphasis on material concerns. That's a really big sentence. And I think what she's saying is that we don't focus on love because we're not tending to our spiritual selves. Instead, we've kind of got sucked into this capitalist, consumerist world that tells us we have to act a certain way to be successful, to be acceptable, right? And then love is really put on the back burner. She says, without love, our efforts to liberate ourselves and our world community from oppression and exploitation are doomed. For as long as we refuse to address fully the place of love in struggles for liberation, we will not be able to create a new culture where there is a mass turning away from an ethic of domination. Without an ethic of love shaping the direction of our political vision and our radical aspirations, we are often seduced in one way or the other into continued allegiance to systems of domination. So without love guiding us, we kind of get sucked into the status quo. And she gives examples of systems of domination. She says imperialism, sexism, racism, classism, and you can probably extend that to all of the ugly isms that are out there. But she says a love ethic, if we come at all of this from love, it allows us to expand our concern, right? Our concern to concern for others, to be concerned with the politics of domination, and our capacity to care about the oppression and exploitation of people. So she says love is the antithesis of the will to dominate and subjugate, right? Love is the opposite of that. When we understand love as the will to nurture our own and When we understand love as the will to nurture our own and another's spiritual growth, it becomes clear that we cannot claim to love if we are hurtful and abusive. Love and abuse cannot coexist. So she's not only talking about abuse between people, she's talking about the abuse of these of these structures of dominance that are holding all of us back. So I hope with these examples that you can see, at least get a taste for what this idea of how love can be liberating, love as a source of liberation, and that how love can be the root and has been shown to be the root that has the power to erase systems of dominance and oppression. And you know, this kind of love is revolutionary, not about the revolutionary about taking up arms. It's the revolutionary meaning that it has the power to create dramatic change. That's revolutionary love, creating dramatic change. And love is a spiritual discipline because it gives us the will. It nurtures our spiritual growth in ourselves and others. When we cultivate and nurture love, that's when our real power to make a difference will kick in, because love is at the center and love is on the leading edge. And yes, we're talking about a radical kind of love too, a love that has the power to change the fundamental nature of things. So each year, the folks at Side with Love have a thing that they encourage participation in. It's called 30 Days of Love, which is very cleverly placed between the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday at the beginning, and it ends on Valentine's Day. Isn't that clever? And it serves as an annual month, they say, of spiritual nourishment, grounding, and shared practices of faith and justice. If you go to their website, which is sidewithlove.org, you can sign up to receive their weekly emails for the month that will feature a spiritual and justice theme, along with offerings to help nourish the spirit, including things to read and do and videos to watch. Now, it's a great way to get familiar with Side with Love if you are not familiar, or to get a refresher, because it's been a while and it's grown a lot in the past 15 years or so. So today, I'd like to leave you with this question. Are we ready for revolutionary love? Right? Are we ready? Can we do it? All right. Are we ready? Okay, all right. Thank you. I wasn't sure there was going to be an answer, but when it started, we had to do it right. So, but you know, are we ready to be driven by an ethic that puts love for all people with no exceptions at the center and at the forefront? Revolutionary love, you know, that is by definition, that is countercultural. You know, countercultural in a society that holds up self-interest and consumerism and personal achievement way above, you know, building the beloved community that Dr. King talked so beautifully about. But yet, love still works. It is a superpower. I mean, Dr. King's ethic of love brought about the Civil Rights Act. And as Unitarian Universalists, imagine what we can do by harnessing the power of love to transform the world. How can that be our superpower? In the words of Bell Hooks, the moment we choose to love, we begin to move against domination, against oppression. That the moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. All right, it's time to sing again. This hymn is just perfectly matched with the sermon today, I have to say. It is called Love Will Guide Us, 131 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
Please join me by saying the words in your order of service as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words are from the Reverend Johnaloo Johnstone. We shall overcome when we can truly celebrate the diversity of contributions and talents offered by all people. We shall overcome hatred and prejudice and oppression. When we can truly extend our hands to one another in loving acceptance, we shall overcome the past that haunts us now. Living in peace and freedom, we shall overcome the wrongs that have happened and the debts left unpaid. Let us join together in that commitment to overcome. Let us say together, Amen. Amen. Dear ones, go in peace, return in love, and blessed be.